Welcome to Saturday versus Sunday. I'm John Barban. With me is Geoff Dover, and let's talk football.
All right, so it's the state of affairs. We're mashing in two states today. We've got Kansas and Missouri, right?
And that's because Kansas City's in both states.
Absolutely. So it's the celebration of Kansas, Missouri.
Yep.
Some good, some rivalry games in there between the states that I think is revisiting. Like, isn't Missouri?
Kansas is playing Missouri this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like that was it's
and
nice
they get poll and 1A, 1B on the wall.
Yep. So some diverse teams here to talk about. Where do you want to start?
Well, we got to start with the Chiefs.
Oh, okay.
It's the what are they? The fourth shortest odds to repeat Super Bowl champs. I don't see too much different with this team this year than last year. I think the entire defense is mostly intact, and all of your key players are still there. And as ugly as last year was, they won 15 games.
Yeah, it was a really different way of doing it, right? So they had a lights out defense and more of a ball control offense, right? Which was different. We weren't used to it. It's a different look for the Chiefs, but it worked, and it got them all the way to the Super Bowl. And I think if they played that game with the Eagles, 5 times, I think that they would win at least like 2 to 3 of them, or so. You know what I mean? Like,
or at least be competitive. Show up.
It was really it was sort of just an anomaly, that one game.
Yeah.
But here's my take for the state of affairs for the great state of Kansas and Kansas City. So the state of affairs for Kansas is that your team is hoping for a bit of a bounce back season from the QB. So Kansas State was what's the guy's name?
Avery Johnson.
Avery Johnson. So he was high expectations going into last year, and he was okay. He threw a lot of interceptions. It was a little up and down. The games where he was on, they looked great. And but then there's other games where he looked terrible. Same thing for Daniels, right?
Jalen Daniels.
There was injured a little bit last year. Only had like 11 or 12 touchdowns and 12 interceptions or something, which was like not good. He was supposed to be better. And I'm going to throw in Patrick Mahomes in this category. Wait for it. Don't get mad at me, Kansas City Looney Farm guy. I'm looking at you. Hear me out. So this is, out of all of Patrick Mahomes' career, of all the seasons where he started the whole season, last year was the least amount of yards he's ever thrown for and the least amount of touchdowns he's ever thrown for. Now, it wasn't a bad season, okay? It's not, we're still Patrick Mahomes we're talking about here, but if you're a Chiefs fan, you wouldn't mind seeing him throw a little bit more than he did last year, a few more touchdowns than he did last year, maybe a few less interceptions, so bounce back seasons for the Kansas quarterbacks.
Yep. And if you want to add Missouri in there, it's a totally new QB. So we're not even going to call it bounce back. It's just an unknown. So you're right. All the Kansas teams that we're talking about here, the quarterbacks are all talented. Avery Johnson has, if he puts it all together, he has Heisman type talent.
Yes.
Jalen Daniels sort of does too. And he just never, I think he hit the ground running. I think it was 2022 where he just looked completely outstanding. And then it sort of hasn't worked since then. And the injuries obviously don't help, but last season, man, he just really enjoyed throwing the ball to the other team. But when you watch him play, you're like, oh my God, he's got a rocket arm. He can move, he can run. It's all there. It's just, can he keep things under control and and not get too wild with the ball? And then Mahomes, he's obviously the best QB and best player in football right now. And last season, it sure as hell didn't look like it.
Yeah.
So even though they won, and you could say, who cares? He always knew how to win. I mean, God, did they ever win some ugly games? But that's got to regress to the mean, right? Like they won 11 one-score games. And the way they were winning, blocking field goals, like just crazy endings, that can't keep happening.
No, it's going to be tough. And I think that you'd want a bounce back season from that. And to your point too about Kansas and Kansas State, the Big 12 is wide open, right? That out of all the conferences where if you had to pick a team to make the conference championship game or win the conference, there's 4 or 5 to 6 teams like within a reasonable amount of odds together, because it could be Arizona State, it could be both Kansas State, it could be Baylor, like it's any of them is
Arizona State and Utah are up there too.
They're everyone's in the mix there. So what if either Avery Johnson or Daniels like can step up, that's really going to separate them from some of the other teams in the conference. So that'd be really big for them.
Yeah, Kansas State has the shortest odds, so right now they're the favorite, tied with Texas Tech. So they should be able to put it together. The expectation there, okay, well, let's do the expectation thing. Expectations is the Big 12 title game for Kansas State.
Yep.
I think if an 8-win season might exceed expectations for the Jayhawks, and then for the Chiefs, and we'll get to Missouri in a second. The Chiefs, I mean, AFC Championship game, that still has to be the expectation.
Oh, at minimum, for sure. And and I think to your point too about the wanting the Mahomes bounce back, I think is going to be important because Denver's going to be better. And the Chargers are still going to be good. So those division games are going to be important. It's not a guarantee that they're going to finish one. Like this isn't one of those mail it in regular season. You just have to make the playoffs. Like I believe Kansas City could just be like, okay, in the regular season. And if they make the playoffs, like you don't want to play them, but if they're not careful, this regular season could bite them because and the Raiders they're going to be better than they were last year too. So that's a tough division there.
The Raiders tend to give them, all division teams tend to give their division opponents a better fight than almost any other team in the league. Even when the Raiders are terrible, they give their own division problems like consistently. I mean, they open with the Chargers. We want to look at the Chiefs schedule.
They open with the Chargers, and then the next game they host the Eagles. So that's a tough 2-game stretch right off the bat. At the Giants will be manageable. Host the Ravens. That one's going to be tough too. At Jacksonville, not so bad. Host the Lions. That one's going to be tough. So it's a tough stretch there at the beginning.
So yeah, it's they get a couple of games that at least sound like wouldn't be as difficult, but in the first 6 games, they got 4 tough ones.
Yeah,
like 4 tough ones right out of the gates.
And then 3 out of their last 4 games are division games too. So those are going to be super important at the end. At least they host the Chargers, host the Broncos, and then it's at the Raiders to finish the season. So maybe this year that 18th game or 17th game will matter. We'll see. Instead of that was terrible watching that last year.
It was so bad,
and it was really bad for us because we're Cincinnati. We kind of wanted them to make the playoffs too, and we just needed KC to win that, and they would have, and it's
zero chance.
I know, and seeing that with who they were playing was just terrible.
All right, well, we can't leave, since we are doing a joint show here. We can't leave the Missouri Tigers out here. So they had a great season last year. So the last 2 years they went back-to-back double-digit wins, 11 and 10. So on my marriages of coaches and teams, I like this one. Drinkwitz.
Oh yeah,
just it seems to be working there. You should stay for as long as you can. They lose a fair bit of talent. They lose a first-round pick, Membu, a tackle, and Luther Burden was their best receiver, so he's gone. But they get, I think the starter is going to be Bo Pribula. He flashed in the backup role at Penn State.
Yep.
So I don't think they've named him yet, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be the starter.
Yeah.
So
no, and their schedule is really interesting too because they've got sort of an alternate game thing going on at the beginning. They're playing someone at the beginning, which I'm not, Central Arkansas maybe, and then there's the Kansas game. So that's going to be a good measuring stick for them for that one. And then it's the Louisiana Monroe, and then
Raging Cajuns,
and then they host South Carolina. So that's going to be a really big SEC early one for both of them because both those teams are going to have that as sort of a win, that they're, I think, expecting. Then UMass, not a problem. Host Alabama, so Missouri is one of those teams that they sneak up and get someone every year, right? They're like, this should be a win and already sort of counting on it, but they're going to get someone, and they've got Bama, Auburn, Texas A&M, OU late, like this could be a real.
Out of their toughest conference games, they get A&M at home, they get Bama at home, so and South Carolina at home, which I would say are 3 of their toughest games. So the 2 other really tough ones you'd say are OU and Auburn on the road, but I'd put the other 3 as the top 3 toughest on their schedule, and they avoid Texas and they avoid Georgia. So it's, even though they're in a rebuild, like at least a chunk of the team. A lot of the offense is in a rebuild. Now they get 9 starters back on defense, so that defense still should be really good. So really the thing is, can that defense hold for a few games here to give that new quarterback and new offensive pieces some time to gel in time for putting up a fight against South Carolina in the 4th game?
Mm-hmm. And
go ahead. No.
And just looking at their depth chart, and they've got a lot of transfers, which everyone does, this time, but they have a lot of upperclassmen. Like there's a lot of senior, a lot of graduate transfer type situation, which is that's gonna mean something, because there's one thing like when you're playing, with your new people and who are young, but like a lot of these people are going to be pretty seasoned. So there's that every single person is either a graduate or senior on off or junior, except for like the running back. So like that's a great, setup for that. And then same thing in the defense. There's one redshirt sophomore, then everyone else is a junior, senior, or higher. So
on that note, this transfer portal NIL era has made these teams so hard to keep track of.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we were doing research for this, it's like, oh, all of the, 8 or 9 players have gone here and the entire secondary is gone. Then the entire wide receivers room is gone, but they've refreshed with a bunch of transfers. It seems to be like when I'm reading all the previews, that's like 5 or 6 out of 7 teams sound like that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the 7th or 8th team is returning at least some appreciable amount of players. Like that never used to be the case. Like you could actually at least have a rough idea of who the team is year over year.
Yeah.
Now it's just, half the roster changes every year.
No,
and
and you really hang on to like that 1 or 2 names that right?
Yeah.
Like it's you're if you knew Pribula because of where he played before and remember seeing him play, but other than that, like we wouldn't know a lot of the people on the team if they, like I would. He used to be the left guard at Rice, and be like, okay, like I didn't, I won't remember that, right?
Paying attention to Rice.
Yeah, so it's nothing wrong with Rice, but I'm just saying I wouldn't know what the left starting guard is now. That's at Missouri, like so. It's that part's really hard, but yeah, that is the challenge for being a college football fan in 2025.
Yeah, when we do these state of affairs, it's kind of easier to cover the NFL team because you recognize most of the players.
Yeah.
They've been on the team for some length of time, so you know what they're like on that team. And man, when you get to the college ones, you got a couple players that are familiar and just a whole new set of players that, all right, let's see what happens when you throw all these kids together and see what happens.
Yeah. Now, saying that, I really liked one of our previous episodes. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it, where you talked about how many of them draft picks are still on the team and how many of them are unsigned draft picks that make up the roster. And it's way more unsigned draft picks than you would think.
You don't mean draft picks, unsigned free agents.
Unsigned free agents. Well, like people that didn't picked up in the draft, I guess.
Yeah, right.
But it was unsigned free agents that like weren't picked in the first 6 rounds, right? So it's a way bigger percentage than you would think. So but for whatever reason, you're right. I seem to at this point now, I recognize more names in the NFL teams than with college on a year-to-year basis. So
it's kind of refreshing when you do come across a college team where most of the players are back.
Mm-hmm.
And in of all the teams we're covering, I've only seen like 4 or 5.
Penn State is that we just did our state of affairs for Pennsylvania, and it was that's one of them just because it's so crazy that Drew Aller and Singleton and the other running back came back. So
Katron Allen. Illinois is like that, but there's just not that many where they're returning like everybody. Keeping in the theme of Saturday versus Sunday, key rookies to watch on Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting, I think, Josh Simmons at left tackle, their first round pick. So that's a big deal. I mean, that position's kind of a little bit important, just kind of important.
Made a movie about it.
Made a whole movie. Omar Norman-Lott, the D tackle from Tennessee, he kind of reminds me of Ed Oliver. Like he's not like super huge, but he's compact and like super powerful. And I don't know, that could be a difference maker that KC fans weren't really paying attention to if they weren't really into Tennessee football. And then Jalen Royals from Utah State. So I saw this guy. To me, he looks, this is a big statement, but the way he plays and moves looks kind of like Jamar Chase to me. So that guy might pop. And most people don't know who he is because who the hell's watching Utah State?
Shout out Davey B.
Davey B, one of our best friends, is a professor there. So that's why I was there watching them. And so I just happened to see this guy because I was there. And I thought, well, that guy jumps off the field. That's a different person. So who knows? The Chiefs might have a stud here that just, if it hits, people in the country will be like, who the hell's this guy? Because no one would really know where he came from.
No, and I like what Kansas City have done traditionally with their draft picks. Like they've drafted pretty well. And just a second year point about the Tennessee guy, like Tennessee's defense was good. Like that was they really led the team, and you're getting a defensive tackle that's been going up against some really large people for, a couple of seasons at least. So that's going to be, you're right about that, him possibly making a big impact.
He spent a lot of time causing a lot of trouble for a lot of linemen who are now in the NFL.
Yep.
So it's not going to be new for him. Anyways, all right. Well, I don't know. You got anything else for the state of Kansas and the state of Missouri?
Nope. No, I think that's it's Big 12. I love watching those games, and I like to see Kansas and Kansas State. I think both teams could be good. So,
yeah, both quarterbacks are must-watch TV.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? All these those three quarterbacks are must-watch TV, and we'll see. Pribula may prove to also be must-watch TV. We'll be watching anyways. All right, so that's the state of affairs in the state of Kansas and Missouri. So for Geoff Dover, I'm John Barban, and that's your Saturday versus Sunday podcast.